Welcome to Backstage with Becca B with special guests Jacque Carnahan and Michael Holzer. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca B. On this episode, they both currently work in the theater industry. One of them is a performer who even has her own one-woman show, and she's the founder of Believe NYC, an educational arts organization which offers workshops to those interested in the arts. The other is the owner and founder of a company called Educational Travel Adventures. Together, they both produce an annual Broadway benefit concert called Arts For Autism, which this year will take place on Monday, April 21st at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Please welcome Jacque Carnahan and Michael Holzer.
You may have already explained this to Jacque, but I'm just curious, how did you stumble upon us? I'm just curious how you found us.
One of my friends actually posted about the concert event y'all are doing next week on her Instagram story. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. I was like, I connect deeply with it because I myself have autism. I have Asperger's syndrome.
Okay.
So I'm like higher functioning autism, but regardless, I have autism, and it's something that
Sure.
like more people, not enough people know what autism is really.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm curious, is your friend somebody from Dallas?
No, she's on the East Coast. I've never actually met her in person.
Oh, okay.
I know her because of like musical theater, like online, Twitter and Instagram and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Really? That's great.
Awesome.
That's really
That's
cool.
How I meet so many people. It's the best. Social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling Michael, I was like, this girl is a huge Broadway fan. I mean, she's talked to people that I don't know. Like, she's interviewed people that I don't know.
I love theater. I love everything. Like, even like regional theater, it's amazing, and there's nothing like live theater.
Oh.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be coming back soon. So
I saw an article today, and I was like, ooh, because the theaters are at like 33% capacity, which like isn't enough to make money off of, but hey, we're close.
Yeah,
totally
So,
getting there.
First of all, have you all always been interested in theater and like in the arts? And if so, like what kickstarted your like interest in it?
Jacque, you should take that one.
I'll go. No, I started out dancing when I was like 5. My dad is a singer, not professionally, but there was always music playing in our house. And literally, like walking down the street one day, we saw a dance studio, and I, tugged on my mom's arm and was like, I want to go, And so it started there. And then I think I was about 9 when I realized that, singing and dancing went together in this cool thing called musicals, And so that's kind of when I decided I wanted to do it. I was like 9 or 10 and decided this is what I want to do with my life. So it's been forever for me.
Okay. What about Michael? Because you're in the travel industry.
Right. So I'm not an actor. I mean, I always liked theater. So when I was in 7th grade, my English teacher I'm sorry, just one second. Guys, can you keep it down? Because I'm on sorry. So when I was in 7th grade, my English teacher would organize these trips, because I live in New Jersey, would organize these trips to Broadway shows. So I think when I was in 7th grade, I think I probably saw like 6 Broadway shows, because she would take us like every month.
So many.
Yeah. It was Mrs. Harmon. I'll never forget her. So I think that's really that was like the first time I saw a Broadway show, when I was in that class. And I always then I liked the theater. And actually, Jacque, I don't know, I think you and I have this conversation. When I was in college, I took a theater appreciation class.
Yes.
And oddly enough, the man who taught the class is somebody who Jacque knows now, and we've been connected with when we've rented a theater. So that's kind of what got me interested. But I'm not an actor, so I appreciate the theater and I like watching it, and I like I like it. But I'm an observer, not a participant. But then I connected with Jacque, and of course it was like a great opportunity to combine an interest and then engage other people in it as well. So.
Okay, so like I can kind of relate to both of those answers, because I started out as a kid like doing like on stage and wanting to like do theater productions, and then I stopped and I was like more like behind the scenes, just an observer. So I get both points of views. And my next question that Michael kind of answered was, growing up, how did you like, you all were both professionals like in the theater industry now with Arts for Autism, and you've worked with that since 2016. How did you dive into the theater industry and like learn about the theater industry enough to work, like enough to be involved in it and work and gather people for an event?
Yeah, I mean, mine came from personal experience being an actor is how it started. I went to school. I actually went to a boarding school for musical theater in high school. I went away to school for theater. Then I went away to college. I went to Boston Conservatory, and then I started, doing shows. So I did a bunch of shows and met a lot of people, worked with a lot of Broadway people. So my experience from it all came from working professionally as an actor, and then. I always, like, even as a kid, I would, put on my own shows. I would always put on a show. I had a bunch of donors that gave me money to go to high school. I had to raise all this money to go to this fancy boarding school. And so every year I would come home and I would do a cabaret show for them as a thank you. So I've been putting on shows like my whole life, And so, little by little, we started doing some shows together through Believe NYC with ETA. We started doing shows for kids. And so about 5 years into that process, at the end of the day, although, producing a show in a Broadway theater is a huge, massive undertaking, it's sort of all the same elements. You think about all the same things that I used to think about when I was like 14, it's just on a much bigger scale, So that's how for me. And then really, Michael, I kind of feel like I just sort of dragged Michael into this in a way.
You're just like, welcome to the theater.
Yeah. But then actually in the end though, it was your idea. This whole thing was your idea.
Yeah. So, and to tell you sort of what got me into it, and just if there's background noise, just tell me and I'll shut that door. But I think the reception's better. Mm-hmm. So for me, I've been working with student travel since the early 2000s, and that's actually how I met Jacque, because she was working with a company that did theater workshops that are for young people who are honing their skills and learning more about about theater. So young people are always looking for opportunities to perform. So, for me, it was like, where can we, what can we open up for people, where they can perform? And actually, I've told this story before, but Jacque had put on a benefit with one of her friends, not for autism, it was for something else, but I watched this benefit concert, and when I was watching it, it really got my wheels turning about how I could get kids involved in doing something. And I've been involved in a bunch of charitable things, and the connection with autism and young people was a good one. And that's what brought me into it. And I think I always joke because Jackie's job is putting the show together and making everybody look good and putting on a fantastic show, which she's amazing at doing. And I have to bring the people in. I have to get the audience to come watch the show. And, and I take care of more of the administrative, maybe the more boring side of things and the financial side of things.
But necessary things.
Right. But we say, like, we're a good team. Like, you can't do it. You need both to make it happen. So.
Yeah.
Speaking of that kind of goes into my next question, which is for Jacque, how do you think that being on stage and being a performer has helped you be able to work in the industry behind the scenes, from a behind the scenes point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really important for me to know how it feels to be an actor, to have already worked with technical teams, to have been part of the production teams just as a whole. I mean, theater is just a family of people putting things together. So having done that, I'm able to have a lot of insight on how actors want to be treated, how to go about asking actors to do things. And we're so grateful that they do every year. And so I think that it was really that, I know how the unions work, and if I don't, we figure it out, So I think that that was really knowing who is involved in creating a show. Okay, I need to hire all of those people. I need to find all of those people. So that was really invaluable. Yeah. And I did want to say one thing funny about the benefit that we threw before Michael, had this Arts for Autism idea. I will never forget. He called me like 2 days after that benefit, which was a small benefit in a small off-Broadway theater. And it was about 70 people in the audience. And Michael calls me 2 days later and he goes, Jacque, this was really great. We should do it again, but this time at Carnegie Hall. I remember saying, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind.
Like, are you okay?
But then little by little, it became clear that we could, if we worked together, make it happen. And then pivoted to using a Broadway theater, but yeah.
Well, and the second part of that funny story is that originally Jacque had thought of having Broadway perform. We were going to have Broadway performers and students perform, and she was thinking, well, we'll have students perform, then they'll get off the stage, and Broadway people will perform. And I said to her, oh, no, we need the Broadway people and the students on the stage at the same time. And I think she was like, what? But that's one of the most unique things that we do, is that in a normal year, we have students and Broadway people on the stage together. And it's just, it really makes for a much different experience, I think, both for the audience and for certainly for the students that are involved. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's probably one of the hardest things that we do, because when you're doing a benefit, it's much easier to say, come, show up 10 minutes before, sing whatever you want, thank you, bye. But for this, it's like, I need you to rehearse with these children, and I need you to come, and I need you to do this specific song, and it's just, but people have been so willing to do it. It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing how people, the Broadway community, some of the most generous people you will ever
Absolutely. And I also have to say that I've watched them as well. And I think that for many of them, they walk away with more than they thought they were going to get out of it, because one, it's a great cause. They're supporting a great cause. And when they see all of these kids and what it's doing for them, they can see themselves in those kids. Everybody was that age at one point and had their dreams. So it's really,
Absolutely.
It's nice. Yeah.
I'll never forget original cast member from Hamilton, Betsy Struxness. We had a Hamilton number one year, Hamilton medley one year, and we had, I think, 5 different people from Hamilton in the number with them, and they were all original cast members because it was very early on. It was a huge deal. And I remember Betsy standing back, like off to the side of the stage during sound check, watching these children live their lives, getting to perform Hamilton in a Broadway theater. And she looked at me and she says, this moment makes it all worth it.
Yeah. And I'm sure they all wish that they had something like that when they were learning and when they were in school, because it's real life experience. It's just like something else, something more to be like, I did that. Like, I did that before college. I did that when I was in high school. I did that when I was still learning, and I have the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I got us off track. But
no, I loved the tangent, and it was perfect, and it went along with everything. I also noticed, Jacque, that you have one woman show. Yeah. Called Main Street to 42nd Street. How did you come up with that? Because I was really curious.
It really is because of my relationship with Michael. So, as Michael said, we met. I was working for a company that did Broadway workshops, and Michael was bringing student groups to those workshops. And one day he lost a tour guide, and he said, can you come to DC and be a tour guide? I know we don't really know each other, but you could probably do this. So I started working part-time. When I wasn't doing shows and stuff, I would do tours with his company. And I would take kids to these workshops and Broadway shows and all these things. And I kept on thinking to myself, there is so much more to the story that these children could be hearing. Inevitably, every time you go to a workshop, which are wonderful things, I'm not criticizing them, but you do a 15-minute Q&A, and you always hear the story kind of like I went to school, I went to auditions, and then poof, I was in The Lion King, or because it's short. It's such a short amount of time to have that kind of conversation. Um, and so I just kept thinking to myself, there's so much more to this story.
Yes.
And so I said to Michael, I said, what do you think about me writing a show that would be for your groups? And I pitched it like that. If I wrote the show for your groups, and he was like, well, that's a great idea, but of course I'd have to see it. So so I went and I met with a friend who was a Broadway composer, and we she didn't compose the music, but she helped me write the show. We wrote a show, and we tried it out on a bunch of my TAP students. And Michael came and we tried it out on a bunch of his groups that year, and it went well, and we've been doing it ever since. So that was really the beginning of our partnership in this way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever picture yourself doing that and like having a one-woman show, writing something for yourself?
I mean, it's funny because no, yes and no. I mean, my mom had told me for years, Jacque, you got to do your own show. And I kept on saying, who cares? No one cares who I am. Why would I do that? And but then this unique opportunity presented itself. And on the one hand, no, I never saw this coming. But on the other hand, the fact that I was doing those cabarets through high school, absolutely, I was always supposed to do this. I just forgot for a while, I think.
And I feel like all theater kids growing up, like, I mean, I might be wrong, or like performing like in their closets, like out of their closets,
Totally.
in, like a game room or something for their parents.
Totally.
So it's like we've all had experience writing our shows, whether they're on like the Broadway level when we're
Right.
years old, that's another thing. But like
Right.
we've
Right.
all created something.
Right. Yeah. So I think it was really meant to be. Yeah. And I was just grateful to Michael, because Michael is one of those people that will say yes. He goes, oh, that's a fun idea. Try it.
Michael, why is that? I want to hear why do you take chances on things? What makes
I think I take chances on people a lot of times. I think like if I know the person and I feel that there's that sort of synergy or energy or possibility, I'm definitely willing to take a chance on people. And on things, but a lot of times for me, it is about the people. And I just, first of all, I am an entrepreneur. So if you're somebody who wants to run a business, start a business, you really have to have the personality that's willing to take risks.
Yeah.
And I think that, like everything else, when you practice, so when you take a lot of risks or you take a lot of chances, and you always have some failures, but when you have success, you sort of learn what helps you be successful. And I think that you get more comfortable then taking those risks. So and if you don't take those risks, you don't ever gain anything. So I think that's really what it is.
Are you good at recognizing talent? Because I feel like maybe in another life you're supposed to be like a talent agent or something for the entertainment industry.
That's funny. I don't know about that. Jacque and I definitely collaborate a lot on just like on reviewing things. So like I know that we'll look at things together, and I think hash things out. But she's really the talent scout, not me.
Hey, I mean, it sounds like you know more about scouting talent than you're saying, or like than you believe.
I think it's because I tell him.
He's recognized it now. He's been around you, and he's picked it up. What is the company you work for, Michael? Because you work in the student travel industry, as I mentioned before, and it's a really cool company. Like you bring students to different places and give them an education through travel and like through like hands-on experiences and tours.
So we work with kids that range in age, usually from 6th grade being the youngest, up through university level. And so usually what happens is a teacher will come to us and want to work with us and bring their class on a trip somewhere. And if you're lucky enough, like me, to have Mrs. Harmon in 7th grade who's willing to take their kids on a trip, it really, what we always say, and it's really true, like those opportunities can really change the way and shape the future for young people, because it opens their eyes to things that they may not have known were out there. Maybe their parents didn't even know they were out there, because they didn't have that experience. So I really love it. A lot of what we do is taking an 8th grade class on a trip somewhere. Maybe it's Washington, D.C. or New York. We work with a lot of drama teachers who bring their kids to New York. And that's where we have this opportunity to do theater workshops and see shows and have some of them perform in a show like Arts for Autism. And then we also do things where we take kids to Europe or to Asia or to Latin America. Some of them do, service projects in a rural community. I mean, we had a group one year that went to see the space shuttle launch because they had an experiment on the space shuttle. I mean, we didn't put their experiment on the space shuttle, but we helped them arrange it. So you get to see a lot of really neat things and create a lot of opportunities for young people that really can affect their future and all of our futures, because that's where these amazing people that we hear about in the news come from. Sometimes they can trace it back to that 8th grade trip. Yeah.
And hands-on experience is the best. It gives you an extra edge. And I mean, I'm a visual person, so I can't just look at something in a textbook and learn it. Learning something in person or learning something by seeing and viewing it is a whole different story, and you pick up so much more.
And also what you get out of being with a group of your friends, we don't have that many opportunities to have such an intense experience with our peers at that age. Maybe we'll go away when we get older with friends, but it's not the same thing as being away with your whole class. So, and I've been a tour guide on many tours, so I love seeing that camaraderie and that, and I'm always, as a kid, I remember there's also those times where there's that one kid who gets left out or maybe gets teased or whatever. And I've seen that on these trips. I don't know, you don't see that as much. I mean, I'm not going to say you never see it, but for the most part, I'm always really amazed at how most of these groups, when they're away together, really do look out for each other and include one another. So that's nice to see.
It's a smaller group of people, and they're outside of their normal middle school, high school, college environment.
Yeah.
So they're probably oh, I got your back in this place, and they probably get to know each other better.
Yeah, I think that is it. And they're sharing rooms together too. So it just seems to, I mean, most of the time I'm impressed by how much they spend time with one another and are pretty respectful of one another. We don't usually have problems where you imagine somebody being left out, which is really nice to see.
This wasn't on my original question list, but I just came up with it. Have you ever had someone say that they've never been on a trip before and it was their first time going on a trip when they were
many we have so many trips where it's the first time somebody's been on an airplane, or the first time that somebody's been away from, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna put my do not disturb thing on. So yeah, we've had so many situations where it's their first time away from home, meaning that they've never left a 25-mile radius from their town. And, we really have a diverse group of travelers. So you might think, or someone might think, oh, you have to have a lot of money to go on a trip. And it's true, traveling is expensive. So it tends to be people with more money that can go. But we have a lot of teachers out there. I have this one teacher who Jacque knows because she did the show for her. It's one of the first groups we did the show for. And she raised $40,000 in her community in Texas, outside of Austen, for a school. And she brought 40 girls from a women's choir and to New York. And they performed at Carnegie Hall and they saw Jackie's show. And many of them had never been out. And for some of them, the teachers will say things like, this may be their only opportunity. And of course, I don't think you should ever say that because you never know where life's going to take you. And hopefully you're going to have lots of opportunities. But for many of them, they've never been. So it's really, really exciting to be a part of making that first impression for people.
It's like living in a movie. You're making dreams come true. And I'm getting emotional.
Well, that's also when you watch Jackie's show, and one day you'll have to see it. It's all about following your dreams. So it really the whole theme, what we do, all as a team, it's all related. We might do it in different ways, but we're all sending that same message out there to people.
How do you think the travel industry goes along with the arts industry?
Well, I mean, I just to tell, it definitely goes along, because you can look at the pandemic and you can look at a place like New York.
Yep.
And you can look at how Broadway is not in New York right now, and it's really killed everything. Like the whole travel industry in New York is gone. So like when I think a lot of theater in a money making, there's a lot of nonprofit theater and small community theater, but like in a place like New York or cities like London, the theater it's at the heart of people traveling, because it drives the restaurant business. It brings the people into the city to come and see the theater. So they're really, I think, very much integrated. Obviously, they're completely, different, but they're definitely tied together. They're married to each other.
And before I get into Arts for Autism, Jacque, you have a company called Believe NYC, which you created. What is Believe NYC, and how did you come up with the idea to create it?
Well, it basically is like I don't know, what would you call it, Michael? The like cousin of ETA. We're really
Yeah,
we're really linked. We're
we're
very much
related.
we're related. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it came from the show that I wrote. It came from the show. So basically, after writing the show, and we started with we have a 45-minute show and a 15-minute Q&A, and Michael said, well, why don't we do a workshop after? So we started doing workshops after the show. Then we started saying, oh, well, we could just do, all kinds of other kinds of workshops. And then we had, there was a friend of ours who actually was a tour guide too, but she's a Broadway oboist. A Broadway oboist saw the show and approached me and said, I want to write a show for Believe NYC. So we wrote a show for her. She wrote her show that's called From the Band Room to Broadway. That's all for band and orchestra students. And it's about how, she picked up the oboe for the first time back in middle school, and now she's playing on Broadway, and how that all happened, with all the different answers in between and the struggles in between. Then it just started to kind of grow and grow and grow. We started doing things outside of New York, maybe putting on a show with a bunch of different musical theater performers, that obviously every time it's just like, Jacque, put on a show. And so I do.
We did one in San Francisco. We had a group of 150 choir students so we put together, Jacque, I should say, put together, like I said, I brought the audience, she put together the show.
Yeah. And you built a roster of people who believe, speaking of Believe NYC, pun intended, who believe in the companies and the shows you create.
Yeah, I mean, the whole mission is really believing in yourself and trusting that following what you know in your heart to be what you love and dedicating yourself to that is worth it.
Yes.
That's the thing, is that no one else is going to advocate for you the way that you are going to advocate for yourself. And so to keep on following those dreams, to keep on making bigger goals, and to just go for it. That's really what we're all about. And we do not shy away from the obstacles. We talk about the obstacles. A lot of performers don't want to talk about obstacles because I think there's this misconception that we need to be, perfect and have achieved everything already. And, it's this image of success that we need to be portraying. And we take a different approach, that actually we want to talk about the nitty gritty. We want to talk about how hard it can be, because that's real. That's real life. And those are the lessons that are going to help you get through anything in life, really. Everyone has challenges, no matter what industry you're in. And the real thing is how you react to it and how you pull yourself back up, and then you keep going. So, yeah.
And I was going to say, everyone has challenges no matter what age. So if like someone's in middle school coming to the workshop.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean, they love hearing, I talk about, the kids that made fun of me. They're all these mean girls. I talk about being made fun of for loving theater. I talk about, certain teachers or people, having, not getting auditions, those kinds of things, because that's real. And what do you do? What do you do with that? My whole life would have changed if I had let the mean girls let me feel bad. I wouldn't have and not pursued it because of that. I would have lost all of this, So it's really that. And so basically, yeah, we do my show, we do the band show, we do workshops, we do shows all over, and then came Arts for Autism first, and then we also have You want me to talk about Hope for the Holidays?
Yes.
Yeah, so we also do this program in Nashville every year called Hope for the Holidays, which is an album that we record with wounded veterans. So we support wounded veterans with Wounded Warrior Project. And
Oh, okay.
we've paired wounded veterans who are also musicians with student groups and recorded a holiday album. And it's beautiful and so much fun. And getting to be in a really first class recording studio is just the coolest experience for the kids and for me. and
And
yeah,
you can if you look on any of your streaming music services like Spotify or Apple Music, or it's there, so you can find it.
yeah,
And put the
yeah,
link to
yeah.
everything mentioned in the description of the video
Sure.
for
So
people.
really, so really ETA is our partner in all of this because, I create all of the programming, but Michael brings all the students.
We bring the people, so
Yeah.
we help. Together we make it happen.
Yeah.
And you've done well, and you've built successful companies together and apart, obviously. And I mean, do you have any feedback that you've gotten from Believe NYC students who've taken workshops that's like your favorite story to hear, like a particularly like emotional story?
Emotional story. I mean, I think that anytime I hear our mission reflected back to us, it makes me remember that we're doing the right thing. Because I don't stand up there and say, we're trying to get you to follow your dreams. I mean, I kind of do, but it's anytime a student can say to me, oh my gosh, I feel like I can do this now. I've learned that, no matter what happens, I need to go for it. I don't know, it feels really good to know that the message is getting across. I don't know, do you have anyone?
Well, I mean, I just generally I will say that when I'm with a group and I see them at the end of the show, and I see that I can't get them out of the room because they all want to go up and talk to Jackie or whoever else is up there with her. I know that they've been moved by it. And then I will also say that like every year at Arts for Autism, we usually bring someone on the spectrum. Well, we always bring someone on the spectrum into the show. And I think for them, it's just such a huge opportunity to be included in such a big thing, invited, honestly, not just included, but invited and included. And then to really be a star of the show, because they're always featured in some solo, manner, and often they get to speak. And to then hear about it after, like in this year's virtual concert, we interviewed 3 girls that have been in the show before. And just to see that it really has an impact on them. I think that's a story that is the one that comes to mind most for me when I think about it. I mean, I think we impact a lot of people in that same way, but I think that, like Jackie said, we don't always hear it. So they walk away and they're impacted, but we don't know about it. And it's great to think about how many are out there. That I always say, when you bump into somebody when I'm traveling and I bump into somebody that from home, I'm always like, oh my God, what a coincidence that I bumped into you. But then I think about all the people that I just nearly missed that were there also, that I didn't even know were there. So I think it's the same thing. How many do we really impact in that same way?
Yeah, it was interesting because we've been doing the shows virtually for the last couple of months. We recorded the shows and we've been offering them to classrooms all over. And one school actually had all of the students fill out a form after and sent it to us, and I called Michael and I said they get it. It was the first time that I'd really seen that much feedback that was positive and that they really were getting the message, so that was nice.
And I mean, speaking of virtual stuff, I'm mentioning to everyone how resilient theater people are. Like they found ways through all of this past year, and all of the not being able to go to theater in person, to make things happen online, to continue teaching online. Why do you think that's been so important?
I think at first there was a resistance to want to do it at all because it's not the same. I will say it is not the same. It is so much harder. Theater is collaborative. So, having to do everything on your own, it is such a challenge. But, it's also about the human spirit. we just needed it. I think we all just needed it. And so the people that have turned it around and been offering such amazing virtual work, it's wonderful because it's been an outlet. And I think something that's been maybe the coolest about it is getting to work with people from all over. Not having to say, well, are you in New York and do you have this time? I mean, I have worked with two of the people that work with Believe in YC, Paul Staroba and Keeve Wilson. They're part of our band program. I've talked to them more during the pandemic than we ever have time to talk. We never have time to talk, and Paul. It was Paul, and he's a big, very fancy Broadway music director, and he wanted to put our shows online. It was all his idea, and the fact that he has time to invest and spend in these kids right now, it's so meaningful, and it's been really lovely to be able to have that time because when things get back, it gets really crazy. Between the Broadway schedule is really a lot, and it's really special that they've made so much time for us.
I was gonna say there's silver linings along the way. Like, this pandemic has been tough on everyone and emotionally, especially on theater people. Totally. But there's silver linings for sure.
Yeah. And I just to add, I just think that like that move to virtual was just, it was bound to happen because people, needed hope. And I think that like, I know with Arts for Autism, we said we have to do this because we want people to feel like the world is going on, like it didn't stop. So, however, and I'm sure throughout history, this happens to people when we're faced with all these challenges, we have to figure out ways to go on. And I think that's really what happened here. We just figured out the way to go on, and and as a society, we did it and we made it happen and adapted. So,
and it's opened up a whole new world. It connects people on a whole other level, and hopefully the virtual stuff goes on after everything gets back to normal, because it, like as Jackie said, it brings people from different parts of the world together. I was gonna say
hybrid
world.
The new word, hybrid. Everything's going to be hybrid, I think, from now on.
Yeah, yes, it's going to go away. Yeah, like, I think it's going to go away. Mm-hmm.
Live and virtual stuff at the same time. So. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. So, speaking of Arts for Autism, which has been mentioned a couple times now, how did you all come up with the idea of Arts for Autism, and why did you choose autism as the thing to have a benefit concert for?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it started with Michael's idea about doing a big concert to give kids an opportunity to perform at a large venue, such as a Carnegie Hall or a Broadway theater. And we knew we wanted to pair with some kind of cause or charity. And I think Michael brought up Autism Speaks because his neighbor, you can talk about your neighbor.
Yeah, I have a neighbor whose children grew up with mine, and her oldest son has autism, and she was a big fundraiser for Autism Speaks, and I would always go to her events and and follow and contribute and support and support them. So I actually came to her and I said, what do you think? This seems like a great cause, and I've seen how much you've done with them, and we're planning this event and we're looking for a charity to pair up with. So what do you think? And she was really excited, and it was a way to take her fundraising efforts to the next level. So in retrospect, it was such a perfect fit because for young people and for theater, I don't know if we even realized at the beginning how impactful it would be.
Right. Yeah. And I had taught a lot before that, and I had taught many kids with autism before, musical theater and dance and voice, and I'd always seen that it was such a gateway for them. It was, I would see these children just thrive in a play in a way that they may not thrive as much in social situations, but then arrive on stage with so much confidence and so much joy and honestly talent too. Like that talent would just come out. And so when Michael suggested, Autism Speaks, or why don't we do something with autism, I thought, oh yeah, that's going to go together. That makes a lot of sense. So then we just immediately said, well, we'll call it Arts for Autism. and that was it.
And it's probably helped children with autism like discover helps them discover like that they can do stuff that other kids are doing. Like they like
Totally.
even if they're shy, even if they feel different, like they can be themselves still, and they can go up on stage and perform, and they get the confidence.
Absolutely.
And the live show is also a great place where we have many kids in the audience who are on the spectrum, who it's a very safe, comfortable place to see themselves, people like them on stage, and to be in an environment where they can be themselves and not have to worry. Their parents don't have to worry, and they don't have to worry if they are themselves. They're not being shushed. They're not, so it's also the event itself is also a nice opportunity for people to, really be able to see.
And I want to say I was talking.
Oh no, go.
No, you go.
No,
I think it broke.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think what's really wonderful about it is that it's bringing these industries together where it's not a performance of a Broadway show for an audience on the spectrum. It's both. Yeah. There's people on the spectrum on the stage talking about autism, talking about having autism, singing, dancing, acting, being a part of the conversation instead of just being in the audience. And I think that opens up so many possibilities. And really, theater people, the theater kids in high school, theater people on Broadway now, theater people all over are the most kind, loving, open, accepting community. So I think it is, if there's anyone that doesn't realize that, I think they come to Arts for Autism or they hear about Arts for Autism and they learn, oh, this is a place where you can belong. Yeah. This is a place where anyone can go. It's we advocate for inclusion and diversity always, so I think that
yeah,
go ahead.
Just to add also that the audience also is also very diverse. Like we have people who are on the spectrum, but we have people who don't even know anybody with autism that are coming to the show and are learning about something, and their eyes are really open to, oh, I didn't know about this. I've heard of autism, but I didn't really know what it was. And so I think we really have the audience is very diverse as well.
Yeah, I mean, Michael and I have learned so much as we've gone along. It's been so inspiring to hear these stories and to know the more stories we hear, I think Michael and I realize the more, important something like Arts for Autism is.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I cannot tell you my favorite story from Arts for, there's many, but a really special one was Jody DiPiazza. Is a young, she's a singer, she plays piano, she plays all these different instruments, she's on the spectrum, and she got up there, she opened the show a couple of years ago, just her on stage alone with the piano, and she started playing the piano and singing, and then she introduced herself and said, I was nonverbal until the age of 2, but at about, I'm going to misquote her a little bit. Sorry, Jody. But, at the age of 3 or 4, nonverbal till 3 or 4. And
it was older than 2, yeah.
It was older, sorry. Yeah. I was nonverbal until I was about 3 or 4. But at the age of 2, I started to sing Disney songs, musical theater songs. And it's just, you can look up her story. It's the most inspiring thing. And her musicianship is incredible. She's a professional musician. She's this amazing vocalist. And it was just this moment of like, oh, wow, music is magic.
Yes,
music
exactly.
Is magical gateway. Yeah.
I said that the other day, music is magic, and it's true. I was going to say, speaking of learning, what's something that you all have learned about autism through Arts for Autism? Because, I mean, as I was saying earlier, I feel like people know like kind of what autism is, but they don't know a lot about it. Like they're familiar with the disability itself, but they don't know a lot about autism and like what comes with it, the package.
I think that we all learned a lot from our keynote speaker 2 years ago, Mickey Rowe. He's an actor on the spectrum, and his speech was so educational for all of us. And I mean, I think the two things I will say that I've learned over over the years is how vast the spectrum is.
Yeah.
You know, how once you've met, you know, they always say once you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, because everybody's different. And I think something that Mickey said that really struck me, that hopefully we can continue to try to support and help, is you know, the high level of unemployment for people with autism that are college graduates. He talked about that, and it's hard to hear, and you hope that things can change.
Yes. I mean, and there's autistic people going to school. Like, a lot of autistic people are going to school. They're smart.
Absolutely.
They're smart. The disability doesn't hold them back.
You're
like,
smart.
If anything, they're even like they're smarter in one thing because they want to learn about one specific thing. As someone with autism, they concentrate on something specific that they're interested in.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. I don't know if Michael, you have something.
Well, I just think that for me, I just to build on that, I think that how vast the spectrum is, and really, you know, dispelling any myths that people with autism either can't speak or, you know, or can't, like, but knowing that really it's such a wide spectrum, and it does include people who are, you know, so severely, you know, stopped from being able to even speak or, you know, control their emotions, to people who are able to have a job, have a family, and like just knowing that how wide that spectrum is helps you understand sort of how much there's that need for help and different kinds of help. So I think, you know, that's, you know, and also knowing how some of these therapies, like the experience with theater and musical theater, can be so helpful to some of these people, because some of them you hear, like the Jody story, it's not the only one we've heard others where people are nonverbal until a certain age, and what maybe brings them out of their you know, inability to speak and communicate with others is usually some kind of music or singing.
Yes, definitely music.
Yeah.
What's the most heartwarming thing that's ever happened during an Arts for Autism concert, do you think? Obviously the Jody story.
Well, for me, the most emotional, like for me, the number that I saw, we have, and it's going to be in the show again, but we have Mina Cuesta and Kelly O'Hara singing a duet of Climb Every Mountain. And I mean, there's so many moving moments in every show, but that one is just a highlight for me. I just, you know, I just think about that moment and seeing them on stage together and just hearing the words to the music and the talent. I mean, you know, of course, Kelly's amazing and Mina is just incredible. So for me, that's one of the most moving moments that I can remember. And I'm so happy that it's actually in the virtual show this year. And I think it's another amazing moment. Yeah.
That song is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that probably is the moment. I think for me, probably because she also is a former student of mine, Stacy Weiner. A couple of years ago, she came on stage with her mom and she talked about having autism. And this year we interviewed her as well. We interviewed the three of them to reflect on that experience. And Stacy, the way that she talks about accepting that she has autism for the first time on stage at Arts for Autism, it's just really, it's so beautiful that she can now say with such confidence that she has autism and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, you know, and that we kind of coaxed her into being able to say that in front of all these people. It was so brave. I think it's more the bravery that I see in her, and the growth is really just so moving and so special.
And what a special moment for like kids in the audience who have autism, who are like, well, I don't know if I should, if like I've always been like ashamed of it maybe, or like I don't want to admit it to other people. I don't want to say it out loud. Like what an inspirational moment to those kids.
Yes, exactly.
In fact, Stacey uses those same words in this interview, and I don't know if that's part of what we included. I think it is, but yeah, she actually talks about being, how she was ashamed, but like how her viewpoint has been changed. So you're right on there. Yeah.
And it's probably because maybe someone else somewhere in her life that she like heard once talk about it was like.
I think the idea that there was an entire Broadway community that wanted to accept her exactly as she is, and she stood up there with other kids with autism, I think she felt, oh, this is a place for me.
Yeah, in front of an audience of 1,000+ people who celebrated her.
Cheering, who were cheering. Yeah. So it was just, I think
it's so special. How do you get these people involved in Arts for Autism? Because you mentioned Kelly O'Hara. How do you like pitch Arts for Autism to them? And like, what is their reaction when they first hear about it?
Well, Kelly's was magical.
That's a funny.
It's a magical story.
So much of what happens in life is just like, in accidental, right? You're in the right place at the right time. You know someone who knows someone who knows someone, and that's the someone who works at ETA. Happens to be very good friends with Kelly O'Hara. Well, not very good friends. She's very good friends with Kelly O'Hara's dresser, and that was the connection. But at the end of the day, and Jackie, you can add to this, but I think that the people who come to Arts for Autism are people who care at some level deeply about the cause, and they're either connected to it or they want to do something good for someone. And they're good people who really want to, give back in some way. And I think that with Kelly, she tells the story about having a very dear friend whose child was born and has autism. So she feels very connected. So she, in fact, herself said, like, how amazing, like at this moment, you brought this to me, like there's nothing more perfect than this right now, so I think that's really, that's probably the story for many people. But Jackie, I'm sorry, you can add to it.
I was going to say the same things about Kelly. I mean, generally Kelly is someone that's always there. She wants to be there. She wants to be there to help no matter what. There's so many causes that she is willing to be a part of. And I think it was just serendipity with her that we happened to reach out at a time, and it was something that was personal for her. And so, I mean, I'll never forget getting her first email, basically, what can I do to help? That's what she said. Like, what do you need? It was just the most beautiful thing. And so, often that's what happens. And most of the people, especially at the beginning, were all people that I had done shows with before. I was able to really, both on stage and off stage, I was really able to use my connection of people that I've worked with before, and they're all just so generous and kind and lovely that here's Jackie, like, here she is. But also they know that it's something really important and something that really means a lot. We're just really grateful that most of the time people say yes. And of course, plenty of times people say no, but that's okay. They're so busy. I mean, in a normal time too. I mean, they've got their 8 shows a week. This is a Monday night, and they choose to spend it with us.
And it's probably
when they
too.
Well, I also think that for many of them, they do leave though, with this feeling of it's so much more meaningful than they imagine. And and many of them come back year after year unless their situation has changed, and they're happy to come back. They want to come back because you just feel good at that show, and you just feel good when it's over.
I was noticing that because y'all have been doing this since 2016.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a bunch of people who were in the program in 2016 who are like still doing it to this day. And I was like, okay, they come back every year. They love the performance.
Yeah.
They love the experience.
We try. Yeah, we try. We hope everyone loves it. We want everyone to feel loved and accepted and that they want to come back. That's our big goal. Yeah.
And then through word of mouth, you get new performers to come into it and build the family. The family gets even bigger.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know. That's all I can even say about that. Oh, as far as and the performers on the spectrum, I mean, every year we really want to highlight as many performers as we can with autism. We always, have a keynote that either has autism or is someone that maybe, is a mother of someone with autism, that kind of thing. And those people come to us in a variety of different ways. I had read the New York Times article about Mickey Rowe.
Oh,
He was the first actor with autism to play Christopher in Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime.
oh,
So I had read about him and thought, oh, he's very inspiring. I saw a video interview about him. I kind of stalked him a little bit on the internet. And then
love it.
I just, similarly to how you found us, I went to his website and emailed him. And
Yeah.
then 6 months later, he was
We actually
speaking on
flew,
stage.
and we
We
flew
flew
him
him
in. He's
out.
from Seattle, so we flew him in from
Oh,
Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah, we flew him in from Seattle, and it was the best decision we could have made. And in 2020, our keynote speaker was supposed to be Elaine Hall, who is the founder of the Miracle Project in Los Angeles. And so this year she is doing, there's a spotlight on her and the Miracle Project in this year's show. And we're showing one of the songs from The Influencer. Their musical is going to be in the show.
oh,
Yeah, it's really great.
so special.
Yeah.
Do you have any? I have to ask because there's been so many amazing people in your program over the years. Do you have any moment where like someone who's been performing, like a student who's been performing on stage, whether they have autism or not, has been like starstruck by like who they're performing next to?
All the time.
Every year.
What is this happening?
All the time. It's throughout the show, throughout
That's
the
really
day.
fun. And that's really
super
fun to
fun.
watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
To like bring them into rehearsals with these people, and they're like, oh,
It's not only that, the show has been at the Gershwin Theater every year so far, and our plan would be to go back if they'll have us and if things return to normal. But just watching them walk into the stage door and behind and on the stage where Wicked is, and actually all of the students see Wicked the day before they walk onto the stage. So just that in itself, that's the first awe moment, and then it just doesn't stop. It just keeps going.
How did you all get the Gershwin Theater involved? How did you all get the show there?
Yeah, well, so we started with the idea of Carnegie Hall. We toured Carnegie Hall and we decided it was too expensive. And I mean, right? I don't know.
I mean,
It's too expensive and too complicated to reserve. That was the other option.
Okay.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
you don't need to talk about that. But but we originally, I think, were going to use the New Amsterdam Theater, but there was some confusion the first year, and this is actually a good story about like proceed, do not be afraid of failure. We were going to use the New Amsterdam, but there was some confusion because Aladdin is there and they have all of those lifts for the genie, like the genie appears from below the stage 1,000 times. So there was like a little, like, weren't really sure if it was going to work to have us there. We don't really know.
And it was the first year that Aladdin opened, so they were not really familiar with whether or not it was safe. And so
Right. So things were ticking along and time was of the essence. And so literally, again, this is a very Becca kind of thing to do. I just started Googling websites of theater owners, reached out to the Schuberts. There wasn't anything that we could do. Saw the Niederlanders, saw they probably rented the Gershwin, sent an email, met with the company manager of Wicked, Susan Sampler, told her our ideas, and that was it, but I will say that first year that we were planning, we failed. The concert did not end up happening. We had to cancel the concert because we didn't have enough. We were too late, basically. It all kind of was too late.
Yeah.
We didn't have enough student groups. We didn't have the amount of financial support to make it happen. And instead of being sad and never trying again, we tried again the next year, reached out to the Gershwin way earlier, figured out what we were going to do, and made it happen in 2016.
I have to laugh because I really don't think that the Gershwin ever thought the show was going to happen.
No, especially that first meeting. that first meeting, I mean, I showed up like my little clipboard and
Yeah.
she, we sat and talked about, well, how many spotlights do you want? It was just this,
I think
I
they
was
thought this is going to be a one meeting and then we won't see them again. But
yeah, like this one random girl is here, and I think, I look young, I sound young,
Yeah.
I'm not as young, as I look, and I think sometimes as someone that looks like a young girl who's like a musical theater performer, you're not taken quite as seriously as I might have been if I walked in as a man in a suit kind of thing. I think there was a little lower expectation, and then ta-da.
Well,
You did it.
hey, it just goes to show that like even people who look young like us,
Right.
I mean, and people on the autism spectrum, like they're known for being mentally young. So it's like it goes to show that like they do have great ideas and they can have great ideas. They can succeed at anything they try. They can succeed when they put their minds to stuff.
and
Absolutely.
there you go, the theme of the whole show.
I know. It's true. I know. I mean, the intelligence that we've seen, I mean, especially these girls that we talked to this year, Mina, Sarah, and Stacy, the intelligence, it's, anyone that thinks that people with autism are not smart is wrong.
Yeah.
Well, not, and also the insight, like, they're young, but their personal experience, they're wise for their age, I think.
Yeah. And they're all mentally young but wise.
Yeah, well, they're physically young also. I mean, they're like, they're all like, not much older than 21. And, they're talking like people who are much older, whether they're on the spectrum or not. So I think that yeah.
Yeah.
So how can people get involved with Arts for Autism in the future?
Well, if you are a student group, if you, are anywhere in part of your drama school, you're in choir maybe in your high school, or your drama club in high school, or you're part of a dance studio, we audition groups every year. You can apply to perform in the concert every year. So you can go to artsforautism.net and submit an application to perform. Most of the time we do want groups. We don't really want individuals. But if you are, an individual that lives, kind of in the tri-state area on the spectrum, and you want to send in a video clip, you absolutely can. That is how a lot of the people come to us. We found Mina Cuesta because her mom had heard about the concert, and a friend told her, you should send Mina's tape, you should send Mina's video into these people. And we were blown away and put her on stage the next year. So, obviously we do get a lot, of people reaching out to us, and we can't feature everyone, but that's kind of how. Just, apply to perform or send in your stuff if you're on the spectrum. Absolutely.
And again, I'll put all the links in the description so everyone can find links and email addresses, etc. in the description. I have a couple quick questions that are like fun questions before the end. What's a fun fact about you all?
Michael, you go. Yours is
fun
good.
fact. A fun fact is that in my sort of spare time, I'm a farmer. And I think that's really kind of funny. And this week, in fact, on Monday, we had 3 baby goats born. And yesterday, which is also Jackie's father's birthday, we had another baby goat born. And Jackie, I sent him a picture this morning. So, and every morning I clean out a chicken coop, I shovel hay and poop into, so yeah, so I think that's kind of funny. And on occasion I milk the goats, but we're not going to do that this year. So I think that's a pretty fun fact.
Goats? I'm jealous. I love baby goats.
I'll email you a picture later.
So cute.
Oh, they're really cute. They're adorable.
They're so cute.
They're adorable. Yeah.
What about Jackie?
I don't have I don't know. I feel like the most unique things about me are the theater stuff. But what I will say is I'm getting my driver's license on April 9th.
That's what I was gonna say. Talk about the driver's license.
First time, I know. I grew up in California, born and raised, and somehow ended up without a driver's license all this time. So I'm getting my license next week.
So you've been living like me with like, I mean, New York obviously has public transportation that works better than California.
I haven't needed it.
Yeah.
So here we go.
New York needs to teach California a little about public transportation because
Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously. Oh yeah, I'm always on a train. I don't mind a train.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna finally learn because I moved to New Jersey, so I'm gonna learn.
Ooh, so it's like a little more you have to drive there than in.
I mean, the terrible thing is that I've been living there since September, and I really don't feel like I need to drive. But I'm going to.
I mean, the luxury of like Uber, trains, etc.
It's true. But I'm going to do it.
And if you could revive any Broadway musical, what would it be?
I love that you asked this question, and I probably shouldn't. Who knows? I'll just say it. I have a beautiful vision for a Broadway revival of The Secret Garden. It's different than it's ever been done before. And Martha is my dream role in The Secret Garden, Martha. And I hope that maybe I can make this vision happen because that musical is the most beautiful score ever. And I think it's what we all need right now.
I think it needs to be brought back for sure. For the young generation.
Yes.
Especially.
Yes.
I don't know about that. One of my favorite shows that I saw was Disney's version of Aida, though. I love that version. Yeah, it was great. I wish that would come back.
I think they're supposed to have a tour, but then it going, right? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows what's gonna happen?
I know.
Yeah, they were supposed to have a tour, and then it got like postponed, and I don't know when it's supposed to kick off now, but hopefully it does because I would love to see it go on tour.
Yeah, it was great.
So
I love the music.
So the entertainment industry is no joke. It's tough. What advice would you give to people who are like up and coming in the entertainment industry, whether they're on the autism spectrum or not? Because I'm sure there's plenty of people on the autism spectrum who are interested in getting into theater or like that extra bit of inspiration.
I say go for it. You can always do something else. I say go for it and create your own work if you need to. That's what I would say. Create your own work, and the industry can be really harsh. So it's important for you to be really kind to yourself, for you to be able to kind of hone that skill of belief in yourself and knowing what's good criticism and what's hurtful criticism, and figuring out, how to be the best self that you can be, and really advocate for yourself and stay creative while you're trying to get that big show, if that's what you want to do. But yeah,
we're all our own worst enemies.
Well, yes, we are, and people need the arts.
Yeah.
As much as we have felt non-essential, we have been absolutely essential during this time. People have gotten through this time with stories, with music and stories, whether that's on Netflix or whatever. The thing that has gotten through us through this time has been that kind of human spirit, human stories. And so artists are essential and we need you.
Agreed. Absolutely.
I think that's really a Jacque question, but I'll just say that, from a business perspective, I think that there's a lot of opportunities out there. So it may not be exactly what you pictured, but I think just be open, because like Jacque probably would never have imagined that her performing career would go in the direction it's in right now. But it's great opportunities, and it's great opportunities for other people. So I just think be open always, that, you don't know. I mean, even for me, I didn't know this is what I would be doing. I thought I was going to be an engineer, when I was younger.
Yeah.
So, I just think that like you have to just be open to what is ahead of you, and, take advantage of what seems like it's coming your way. Don't just disregard it because you're so set on one thing that you don't see what's in front of you.
Yes, totally. I was going to say from computer science, right, to Broadway. Wow.
Yeah.
Long journey. I'm sure you have to explain that a lot.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is, if you're a people person, it's hard to have a desk job where you don't really talk to people and you're just thinking all day. So
Yeah. Yes, I
yeah,
can imagine.
yeah.
So we've talked about how theater is essential. What are you most excited about when theater can open back up to full capacities?
I'm excited for the first few moments before the show starts. We're all sitting there in the audience, and you maybe hear the orchestra tune, and the lights start to dim, and everybody's just that anticipation for the beginning. I can't wait for that moment. And then I have this like imagined idea of what it'll be at the end of the show, like the first Broadway show I go back and see, and I can imagine like the entire audience just like leaping to their feet, weeping at the same time, you know. And I think that I can't wait to be there for that moment. And really, it's not just Broadway. Theater all over in every level. Like, it's so important, and I can't wait for people to get back to that.
Need it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just hopeful for that moment when people are, it's so strange even now, when you walk into, I've had the vaccine, so I in theory should be safe, but yet it's still uncomfortable to walk into a crowded room with or
Right.
without a mask. So I'm looking forward to that day when I can walk into a theater and not be nervous that it's too crowded, you know. And I hope that is something that we as a society get over quickly. But it's a hard thing to get over. So I'm hopeful for that moment when we can walk into a theater and really not be worried, you know, that we are in a place that's too crowded. And I hope that day comes soon.
Yes, not have the extra anxiety around us.
Yeah, to be able to be relaxed and enjoy things and not be worried.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, do you all have anything else, whether it's like Arts for Autism related or not? There's a concert coming up that's on the 12th.
Yes, April 12th.
That
7:30 Eastern time. So if you're in California, that's 4:30.
4:30. So where can people buy tickets again for that? I think you mentioned it earlier, but one more time, where can people buy tickets?
Artsforautism.net is where to get the tickets.
And
And the tickets are free. And if you want to make a donation to support Autism Speaks, you can do that when you're in the checkout process, but it is free. So there's no obligation to make a donation. We really want to get the message out about, you know, how important it is to support, be inclusive, and support people with autism. So, you know, enjoy the show. And I think people will be blown away by the show. I know we've seen a lot of virtual stuff, but it's amazing what you can do. I didn't do it, but for Jackie, what you can do in your living room with a curtain behind you, by yourself. So I just think that people will be blown away, and not only with our professional performers, but with the student groups.
Oh my gosh.
You know, the amount of energy and effort they put into this, and the quality really of the numbers. I just think people will really be impressed, and you know, it's definitely worth an hour and 15 or 20 minutes of your time. I think people will really be impressed.
And someone can discover like one of their new favorite performers is like a high schooler out of like who knows where.
You never know.
That's right.
Like a different state than them or something, like small state somewhere. I don't know.
Totally. Everybody's from everywhere. Utah, Texas, New Jersey, Michigan, Florida.
Yeah.
California, we have speaker anyway from California.
Yeah.
Gives all these people a platform, all these talented performers.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you all have in the works that you'd love to promote? If not, where can people follow you on social media, like your companies, to keep up with you?
Well, we have an Arts for Autism Facebook page, and we have a Believe in YC Facebook page. ETA has a page too, but I don't know. Yeah, right? ETA,
Yeah. Educational Travel Ventures Facebook page.
Too. Yeah, I am a very not on. We're neither of us are
I
on
know
social
we're
media
not
very
good
much.
social media
I
people.
mean, I am on there. I mean, you can find me at Jacque Carnahan.
Maybe we'll talk to you about that
Yes.
offline.
I know we need help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I try to stay off as much as I can because I feel like it actually helps me as an artist to not be on there. So I feel bad though because I know people are supposed to be on there. I don't know.
Overwhelming.
But yeah, so and the things that we have coming up, really, we're trying to rebuild. You know, we're trying to rebuild. We're trying to get travel back so that then we can have an Arts for Autism that actually happens in person next year. So really, that's a lot of what we're
We
working
do,
on.
we do have a program we're working on at Lincoln Center that is, probably not till 2023, but it's another program that will, feature female vocalists, but the students in the show can be, co-ed. There's not, but the show
Yeah.
it's in the works. So
Yeah, the idea right now is women in the arts. So we'll see. And personally, I am writing a show with my best friend John Michael Dias, who is a Broadway performer who is in Arts for Autism. You will see him up there. He's fantastic. And we are writing a Judy Garland show together. That's all Judy Garland duets and all the best of Judy Garland, but also with some like contemporary quirky stuff going on. So we're writing that, and you can go to JacqueJohnandJudy.com to see more about it.
I feel like that's gonna be a hit.
Oh, thank you. People that have seen Arts for Autism before will know because John and I sing a Judy Garland duet almost every year in Arts for Autism. So it's more of that, with also some stories and some comedy and fun things. So
Definitely something to look out for. I mean, I feel like in years to come, like that is gonna be a.
Well, yeah, we hope to have it ready to go by June. Our first show is in the fall. So our first show is in the fall. So
Well, I'm excited for that show to get kicked off.
thank you.
Well, thank you all so much for coming on and sharing all of what you do. And thank you all for putting together Arts for Autism. It's such a special thing and it's such a great idea.
Thank you so much for asking us to do this. It's so
yeah,
nice.
really, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!